When I was young, I thought that failure was impossible.
It just seemed to me that I needed to be doing work to try to raise the intensity of the conversation about what we were leaving for future generations.
Kathy and I were motivated, I think, more and more kind of desperately, one might say, to actually take our skills as philosophers and make it sort of applicable and important in the world.
When Americans talk about climate crisis, when we talk about species loss, primarily the discussion has been either economic or technological and scientific.
We get frustrated because it doesn't seem to be obvious to us how we not only argue that we can move in a different direction, but that we ought to, that we have an obligation to.
What's missing is the moral conversation. The moral conversation addressing questions like, what are my obligations as a human being to make sure that what we're doing now doesn't make it impossible for people in the future to live full, thriving, joyous lives?
We don't have those conversations, and even when we do, we don't have them where we're invited to participate in them. They don't seem to be around a topic that we all are committed to in our various ways.
How can we use stories? How can we use art? How can we use religion to explore our values?
How can we reclaim moral discourse in our lives? How can we have these conversations?
When I was young, I dreamed the earth was healed and whole again, creatures, trees, and rivers free and wild. Now I am
Every social movement involves some kind of struggle, but at the basis of the struggle, there's always a moral core. I have a dream is not a scientific, technological, or economic argument. It's an argument based on what we most deeply care about. How can we summon this kind of moral center of the movement to stop our damage to the future? When we began the book project, we knew two things. One is we wanted to include people from every walk of life, from every different discipline, and from every continent. The other thing we knew was that we wanted to include all kinds of voices, poems, prayers, as well as analysis, articles, stories. And so then we went out to those people, asked them if they would respond to that central question. Do we have a moral obligation to the future to leave a world as rich in possibility as the world that was left
us? We received over 100 essays that all answered yes, but answered it from a variety of perspectives.
So we are sowing wind to eat, that other hands will harvest, that they might have enough to eat after we are gone.
I think the reader's going to be surprised that on a moral question that we actually speak with one voice. I think they're also going to be surprised at the wealth of ways that people come to that one voice.
What I think the book does is offer so many arguments and so many different reasons that no matter what background a person has, they will find a reason here to think about how they ought to act for the sake of this world.
You can't finish the book and say, yes, we have this obligation, but I don't have this obligation. That the reader will be convinced that in fact they're another person who has this kind of obligation.
After we had the book manuscript put together, we started to say to ourselves, how can we use this as a basis for discussions that really spread? So we thought, let's call a meeting. Let's ask people to assemble in a public place. Let's raise the question and let's turn them loose.
Do we have any obligations to the future? Why should we act now to protect the interest of a future that doesn't even exist?
These town hall meetings demonstrate the way that this discourse can actually take place and how it can look rich and different, and it can be inviting. It includes music, it includes poetry, it includes prose, it includes, philosophical and scientific rhetoric, just like it includes everything else.
To come together and feel the moral energy of a whole group of people and to feel the creative energy of everyone, it brought out a kind of joy and a kind of hopefulness that I haven't seen for a long time.
I think the person who comes to the town hall meeting is going to feel a sense of connection that we often don't have in this discourse. I think they're going to feel that they're not alone.
What I'm excited about is that this effort to have a conversation about what we most deeply value is bringing out a commonality of values. We care about health. We care about children. We care about a meaningful relationship with something that's beautiful and beyond us. We all do. And so we all recognize the need to act for the sake of preserving these things we all value in common.
When I was young, I thought failure was impossible. All wrongs would be righted in my time. Now I am old, I see failure is impossible. I pass the torch to you. Will you hold it hard?